The CoinDesk Spotlight is brought to you by Nexo, the place to earn on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and more.
All right, well, the internet was designed to be insecure, but we have a chance with Web3 to build a decentralized technology that presents a better alternative. And that's according to our first guest, a world-renowned cryptographer and privacy advocate. He is the founder of quantum-resistant digital currency Praxis and XX and distributed messaging platform Elixxir, which reflect his decades of research and contributions as the father of cryptocurrency. Please welcome David Chaum. Hello there. David, thanks for joining us. So you've written an article for CoinDesk where you state that if Web3 is to be more than a catchphrase associated with the vaporware of the metaverse, your words, that means rebuilding the internet from the ground up, something truly decentralized, truly protective of individual privacy and freedom, truly quantum secure, and truly democratically run. So let's dissect that. Who are the posers? Name some names, and who are the true builders of that future today? I feel like you hinted at some, but you didn't call it out outright.
Well, we actually, there are a number of chains and projects. There's been a lot of technology that's, I open sourced privacy and messaging about 40 years ago, and there's been a whole series of people. Tor is one of the more famous ones, but now in the XX Messenger, we've got a way that ordinary people can just use a messaging app to send their messages with privacy that's unlike anything else, because it hops through 5 different randomly chosen nodes from our 350 mainnet nodes. Each message randomizes it within a big batch of 1,000. So this is, to skip a little bit forward, Christina, the touch point for this kind of technology really has to be something that ordinary people can use right now. So when they switch to our messenger, which we're going to be launching shortly, then they'll be benefiting from all of the decentralized infrastructure without having to do anything other than just switch messaging apps, which will be like painless. So that this is something we've been talking about, sort of like you were talking about CBDC and how it has to have privacy. All the studies show that. Well, it's the same thing with messaging and WeChat, and those are the two convergent mainstream things that ordinary people are going to be doing. And it's what I said we would do several years ago, and we're just about ready to launch, is have messaging that is, with unprecedented level of privacy. No other messaging system has anything like the metadata shredding where it goes off top like we have, and integrated with payments. And you have to have a quantum-resistant blockchain infrastructure because only quantum-resistant privacy is forever. So this is a critical aspect. I mean, it's a long. I was trying to just sort of move forward to the real interesting part of all this is, can we bring ordinary people into the blockchain space and to really immediately benefit from and use these technologies, because that's what's going to really grow this market. So we've been. I think. Yes. Go ahead.
No, we definitely want to talk about quantum-resistant cryptocurrencies, but because that's obviously an incredibly important issue here. But before we do, I kind of want to touch back to.
Can I just say that it's not just the quantum-resistant cryptocurrency, because that we have that in our wallets now, right. The quantum-resistant backup. But also think about messaging privacy. Maybe. Privacy is something that is essential for democracy. It's really the key ingredient for democracy, that people can talk among themselves without fear of being monitored. And so if that's something that they think will later be understood by AI and intelligence agencies and so on, you don't really have much of a basis for democracy. And I think that's what the world's really feeling right now. I mean, in a lot of sectors, this is a huge concern. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, well, first of all, I did want to thank you for inventing pretty much all this and giving us all jobs. So
yeah, I was walking around consensus, the first consensus, and every second person was shaking my hand, and thanking me. Yeah, I made a lot of people rich. I did a lot of great stuff. I've been working on this for 40 years. Before the internet or anything, I was thinking, what's going to be the key thing? And it's democracy, it's messaging privacy, but you also have to be able to pay for news and be paid to generate news. Otherwise, the privacy in messaging is hollow.
So another person who's involved in messaging, Moxie Marlingspike, he did this piece the other day, and I've been asking different people about it, and I want to get your take as well. He's been very critical about Web3, and he sees a lot of failings because he sees a lot of centralization, that it's not really as decentralized. People don't want to have they don't want to have servers in their houses, so this is not going to work.
A lot of people feel that. A lot of people have been saying that, and some people have some, big powers behind them, like governments and stuff. There is no real true decentralization. I don't think it's the case. I mean, XX Network right now, we've got 350 nodes. People are running them in their basements, under their beds, whatever. This is not like people paying to run nodes in Amazon Web Services. We have as hardware spec people have to build these servers. They have video cards in them, and we've got a community of people who really get this and have been backing it with their own, efforts over more than a year now. We've got a really good community of people, and this is we're in 80 countries.
Yeah, but what about the incumbents like Meta, formerly Facebook, which run half the users on the internet?
Yeah, what about them?
Who run Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp?
Yeah,
and they want to get into
what do they say, Christine? The bigger they are, the harder they fall. The thing is that we've seen it in messaging over and over again. Whenever one of these bigger dominant systems, because it differs per country which system is the dominant messaging system, because there's real network effect and economies of scale. So the dominant one, when the public finds out that they're giving the information to the government, or it's easily broken or traced or something, they just switch en masse because of the network effect to another messenger, and you've seen it over and over again over years. Or they'll switch to a new social media platform. We've seen things go from basically 0 to 50 million users in like 60 days globally. I mean, so it's, thank goodness these people have trained users how to use messaging and how important it is and so on. But now they've betrayed the public, the fact that they've been betraying it all along has become very well known. So people are ready, it's a powder keg. When you give someone a replacement product that's easy to switch to, which is what we have done, we'll do when this launches, it's over. Because whenever they're just, discredited and something else is found out, you get a wave of people moving over, and then you get a kind of network effect, and it builds out. So I think the biggest chance for democracy and for blockchain is getting our metadata shredding, quantum resistant privacy out there to as wide an audience as possible, because they'll be using blockchain without really suffering at all for it. And then, we can overlay on that, just like WeChat did, the sort of mini apps, you could do some payments and other stuff over this platform. And then you've really created the privacy protected spheres of participation in the internet that's really essential basis for democracy. And that's, absent that, we'll slide off into some other kinds of thing that, might not be as nice.
David, I totally agree with you philosophically about privacy being important for democracy. But, if we look at kind of what happened with Web 2.0, I mean, what you're saying didn't exactly play out, right? I mean, Facebook has had privacy scandal after privacy scandal.
Don't blame me, damn it. I published a scientific American
not blaming you, but just saying, like,
I hear you.
For this to actually work.
I lived through this. I saw the NSA come in. I proposed, that metadata shredding should be built into the fabric of the internet. That's the real end game. When they did the standards for the routers that created the internet, there's a guy named Steve Cannon, paid by the NSA, came in and said, no, you can't. You must have the addresses in the headers. Every single message has to say exactly where it's coming from, where it's going to, and everywhere it's been, and you cannot change that. And that was built in to the standards of the internet. And next they tried to revise it, and no, the government, came in and stopped it. But that's what's really needed. That should have been done. People in the space know that, but it's not like it's Web3. It's like they're big actors, like NSA, Cisco. There's a lot of people throw around a lot of weight, and they were very much against metadata shredding. But I proposed it in 1979, and I open sourced it.
Putting aside the NSA for a second, because that's a whole other thing. But one thing that's important to bring up is that a lot of the data that the NSA was using was coming from the platforms themselves, and the platforms had data that Americans willingly handed over, right? So again, these are two.
And they're still doing it. It's unbelievable. And as people realize this, when they have an easy alternative, they're just going to switch. They're just going to switch. It's all about replacement products and easy cost of switching for the user experience. People don't want to learn how to use all kinds of new stuff or whatever, but if they could just switch, they'll do it. And that's what we're offering. And that's what's going to really, in my view, really amp up our whole blockchain space, which is which has other strong points. The way trading and financial transactions are done in blockchain, while nascent and a bit clumsy, and there's some bad examples, but really has the. May I just finish my sentence? It really has the potential. I think this is an important other fact to bring in. It really has the potential to get rid of settlement risk and to make transactions clear immediately. And there is a global systemic risk in financial services we're paying 3% of global GDP in fees for financial services. You can read about that. Look that up. It's startling, and what attacks on economic growth. But the blockchain does have the potential to eliminate that and to go to a real peer-to-peer system. But you need also the messaging to overlay on that.
But just following on Emily's point, I think what she was trying to say is, do people really care for privacy? Because sure, you can say they do, but they've shown that they've been willing to forfeit their privacy for convenience.
Well, they didn't know. They were tricked. But you're right. There is this, it's all, I've been in this privacy thing for decades, and there's always this question, if it's easier, people don't know how to protect themselves, they won't. If they could talk to more people, there's a trade-off that every individual makes. But it's not just an economic thing. It is the basis for democracy. But one of the key arguments or positions you'll hear from ordinary people is, who's interested in spying on me, and why would they take the trouble? And I don't have that much, and I'm not really that worried about it because I have nothing to hide. Well, it turns out that now, in an era where it's acknowledged that that the government is doing the full take, and that probably several governments are around the world, all this stuff is captured. They're storing it. They're building They're trying to build quantum computers. Who knows? Maybe they have them. Maybe they'll have them in 5 years. Who knows? When they do, and all the work in AI and machine learning, is going ahead. You don't see it. It's all behind the scenes. But when the confluence of those two trends is going to mean just everything that you have said in the past is going to be analyzed by AI for free. So you cannot no longer say, I don't know who's listening or who cares. And of course they care. They want to make money off you. It costs them nothing to have AI look at all of your communication, retroactively. And that's something that, unless you use quantum resistant protection, it will happen when we don't know. And just the fear that is happening, and just the fear that people could use quantum computers to take down blockchains can have a really profound effect on people's, on the price of these things, and also on people's willingness to communicate their real thoughts. And it's it's a very serious matter.
There's an aspect that you brought up, particularly with regards to democracies. They're regarding voting in the United States, and there's some questions people are having in the long term about using blockchain technology in voting. Do you think that's possible? And do you think that it can be done in such a way in which it can't be manipulated, or have a quantum computer used by let's say a nefarious actor to change elections?
It's an excellent and very important question. And to answer it directly, I know the answer is yes. If you go to my website, Chaum.com, and look at some of the voting work we did, we ran the municipal elections, the city of Tacoma Park, Maryland elections, 2009, 2011, by a publicly verifiable, and it was on blockchain technology that the voters all loved it because there was a tracking number on each vote, and you could see that your vote was really recorded, but no one could see how you voted. And that type of system is very amenable to quantum resistant cryptography of the strongest type. So I would say definitively the answer is public sector elections can be done in a way that is publicly verifiable and quantum resistant. And now the XX Network is sponsoring VoteXX. You can see at votexx.org. We have developed a way to do voting outside of polling places where your vote, there's no real vote selling or coercion. Solving those problems is critical to allow voting to take place on a broader scale and more often and in possibly different ways, using what we call sample voting, which is something I've also been very active in. And you can read about that on my website as well. So that there's we are pioneering this new type of totally decentralized election authority with quantum resistant voting security for the governance of our XX network. That we're developing these technologies. We also have a project called Seventh Estate, which is a way to people can use blockchain and paper mail to run their own public opinion surveys that are provably and publicly verifiably valid. And that's being tried. That's in the mail already right now today in Portugal, or that's the first use of Seventh Estate. So there's, just look it up, 7th.estate, if you'd like to read about it. So it's like, this democracy, the voting stuff I've been working on, I created mixing in 1979 for voting. But there's sort of like a couple paragraphs in that original article, which has been, my master's thesis cited more than 5,000 times. It's this kicked off this whole, mixed network thing. But voting was the actual reason that I came up with it, because it is central. And if these technologies will allow a much finer grained and more responsive kind of democracy than we've seen. So I think there's another shoe to drop in terms of the evolution of democracy, from the sort of this representative democracy, which, we've all seen its failings, to something that does a jujitsu move on AI. It uses AI to help us with voting while protecting us from voting and can make it quantum secure. That's the kind of thing that I work on in my spare time. So
David,
watch this space.
David, it's fascinating. We're just running out of time, so I just want to ask one question that I think our viewers are going to be really interested in, given that you've been in this space for so long. Who do you think is Satoshi Nakamoto? Do you know?
Are you to Satoshi?
Well, I look, that's look at my website, Chaum.com, and read the article that talks about who invented all the aspects of blockchain, except for maybe the proof of work thing. It's kind of interesting. And look at eCash in the 90s. This was the first digital money, and it was in some sense better than the blockchain money, because when you had it, no one would know which one you had. Perfectly privacy protecting against quantum computers, even in those days. And no one could take your money from you. You could always be able to spend it. So this was issued by Deutsche Bank in Deutschmarks. It was in dollars, and we had our own Cyberbucks currency. So a lot of the people that you hear about in this space came through and they were visiting scholars, let's
yes
say.
Yes or no, David? Are you Satoshi? Yes or no?
Well, I'll leave that to you. But I had an awful lot to do with this, and a lot of people think that
won't even answer the question.
Send a few coins my way. Prove it. It's okay. Send some my way.
Move some of the coins, David. We want to see. All right, but you've also said that the most exciting cryptocurrency to you is Satoshi Vision. And are you talking about Craig Wright's Bitcoin Cash? If so, that's very controversial, but I'd like to hear your reason why.
Oh, no. I wasn't referring specifically. I mean, I think I count Roger Ver among my friends. And, I was there when, I think Vitalik jumped over the chairs and almost started to attack Craig Wright or something like that. Or was it the other way around? I was at that conference. I was in the front row. I was a speaker there, so I was hanging out with those people all the time and everything. I mean, I see what's going on in this space, but there's a lot of people talking internally, and there's a lot of a lot of stuff in the blockchain space that could be a lot better. And I think if we really take this to the public, a wider public, it's going to be a sea change and really move this.
But are you into Satoshi Vision?
Its real potential. Well, look, the Satoshi Vision is frictionless financial payments. That's what it says in the very first sentence of the abstract, right? And the original paper. So this is. This is a part of what XX Network has. We did 3,500 transactions per second, quantum resistant payments. We demonstrated it running for a full 10 days. It's all live streamed. You can see it. We will bring that back. So that's one aspect. Another aspect is you have to be able to protect your communication, including payments, but also your messaging. That we're launching very, very shortly. And it's
just
the integration
one more question, because we actually have to wrap up. This has gone over, but if quantum computers are developed in the next decade or two, they could spin circles around the ones and zeros that support current computer networks. And so, if so, what does that mean for the current blockchain protocols we have? What does that mean for Bitcoin?
Well, I don't want to address Bitcoin specifically because I love Bitcoin, but all blockchain protocols that I'm aware of are, besides the one that we demonstrated, have a quantum could be taken down by quantum computers, either by stealing money from people's accounts, making transactions that weren't authorized, and or just breaking the consensus. And so we have built into XX wallets already a quantum resistant backup, and that's something that will give our XX network a non takedown security. But and once we have the quantum resistant consensus live, it changes things, because there is a race on to make quantum computers. Industry estimates are like 5 years. Look, I don't really care when it happens. And don't forget, governments are usually ahead. They will co-opt whoever is ahead because it gives them a tremendous advantage, and they won't announce it. And you look at passenger ships were sunk during the Second World War, but the U.S. government knew it, but they didn't do anything because they didn't want to reveal that they'd broken the code. So who knows? Maybe some people have. But privacy is something that needs to be protected forever. So if you're sending around unprotected messages today, someday those will be readable. Those messages you send today will retroactively be readable. That doesn't give you the kind of confidence. That's when AI will be even more developed. Who knows what the world will be like then. So what you really want to do. Yeah. Hey,
but
such
thank
a pleasure.
You so much for coming on the show. Oh, absolutely. The pioneer. Yeah, we need another 3 hours to finish this interview. But
another 3 hours.
The pioneer of blockchain research, the father of cryptocurrency, David Chaum, everyone.